The University of Michigan is doing things in the transfer portal right now that just continue to make them the elite program that they are. They've already grabbed 3 Pac-12 offensive linemen out of the transfer portal. Like, you look at some of these guys that they've grabbed already. Myles, Hinton, 4-star guy out of Stanford. You look at Ladarius Henderson. He was rated towards the top 10 in Pac-12 offensive linemen this last year at Arizona State. One of the better offensive linemen in the Pac-12. And then, of course, this is going to hurt Nebraska fans a little bit. And then, of course, you look at Ernest Hausman. You look at defense. You look at linebacker. When you watch Nebraska throughout this season, towards the end of the season, when Bill Bush was really getting into a groove late in the season, Ernest Hausman really stood out as one of the very best defenders on this Nebraska defense. He was continuously around the football. He made sure tackles, and that was definitely not something that didn't happen earlier in the season for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and there was a lot of promise about the future of him being a building block of that Nebraska Cornhuskers offense. But then, to my surprise at least, he goes and enters the transfer portal, and now it's kind of clear that he realizes his potential and Michigan realizes his potential, because him landing at Michigan is just going to improve this defense that much more. Linebackers are such a big part of Michigan's identity. They're such a big part of Michigan's football team and Michigan's football program. Like, Michigan is doing it right. They're doing what an elite team should do when they look at the transfer portal. Because if you're an elite team in college football, you're going to have turnover. You're going to have guys that go to the NFL, and sometimes maybe you're not able to recruit high school guys, and they don't develop as quickly, because right now you don't play as a freshman, you're gone. You're hitting the transfer portal. Gone are the days where you can sit back and you got 3, 4, 5 deep, and you can let these guys sit and learn for a year, for 2 years. You know, if a guy's not playing at Michigan by his second year, he might up and transfer to a place like a Purdue and Illinois and Indiana, where he can get playing time. He can, kind of work out some things in game situations on the field, and he can be in a situation to further his career that way. So that's where the transfer portal needs to come in. When you got a high amount of turnover, you need to find guys with experience that you can plug and play. Like, that's exactly what Michigan did with Oli Oluwatimi, kind of coming in, right? He was a great player at Virginia. And, of course, that I'll get to their accolades of the Michigan offensive line here in just a minute. He comes in and he keeps up the tradition of what Michigan is doing on that offensive line. That's exactly what they're doing with these Pac-12 offensive linemen. Okay, they're bringing in guys that they know are good, and they're going to put them in a system that has won back-to-back Joe Moore Awards as the top offensive line in the country. And they're going to plug and play them into this situation, and these guys will succeed. This is going to be another really good offensive line at Michigan in 2023. And you need to know your identity when you approach the transfer portal, right? There's even more planning now when you're a head coach in college football, before it's kind of preparing and looking at your roster, your personnel, and recruiting. How can we get these guys coming in as freshmen, have them be ready to play at a high level when maybe they're sophomores or maybe they're juniors? Now with the transfer portal, you got to know everything that's going on across the country, and you got to know guys that can come in and make a difference in your program, because things are quick. Kids don't play right away, right? It doesn't matter if they're wearing the winged helmet or if they're wearing Georgia colors or Alabama colors. Right now, okay, kids commit to those schools because they believe those schools can get them to their NFL goals. But when they don't play, when there's a herd of 4- and 5-star guys, and maybe they don't make the cut on the depth chart, they're not third string, they're fourth string sitting back there. The transfer portal is the way to go right now for these guys to get onto the field, to play the game they love, to play the game of football. So these elite programs need, and this is exactly what Michigan is doing, these elite programs need to utilize the transfer portal to plug these holes if they want to stay on that elite level. A transfer portal czar is needed almost to really progress your team in that direction. And that's why I think when I sit here Okay, we're approaching Christmas in 2022, and I can already look at what Michigan is doing. McCarthy back. Donovan Edwards back. You look at some of those guys on defense, they're going to be back. And now you plug and play these offensive linemen. You look at a guy like Ernest Hausman that's going to really develop in this Michigan defensive scheme. Like, I can already tell that Michigan's going to be in that situation next year because they know how to approach. They have an identity, and they know which holes that they need to fill in the transfer portal. I really love what Michigan is doing. Should be interesting to see if they can keep it up going forward with some of these additions out of that magical transfer portal.